Okay, so we got to talk about Proviron, and I want to give a quick overview on this because there's not a lot of overviews on it. There's not a lot of videos explaining Proviron. It's not that popular, but I find it a super interesting steroid because of its uniqueness, which we'll get into. All right, without further ado, we have to discuss first what is Proviron. So, Proviron, also known as Mesterlone, it's a DHT derivative steroid, dihydrotestosterone. So you have your three derivatives, main derivatives of steroids. You have 19-nor, testosterone, and then DHT, and they all have different kind of characteristics around them. So the anabolic to androgenic ratio, which every steroid has their own, and if you don't know what it is, it's pretty much the ratio that describes its anabolic effects to androgenic effects on the body. Anabolic being building muscle and recovery, the androgen receptors usually in skeletal muscle, and androgenic being virilization, also known as masculinization. So like deeper voice, body hair, sharpening of the jawline, all of that stuff. And so the ratio of Proviron is 35 to 100, which for reference, testosterone is 100 to 100. That's kind of like the base steroid hormone. So considering that, we can see that Proviron is less anabolic than testosterone and around the same level of androgenicity as testosterone, but some even speculate the androgenic ratio is actually higher. So it's more likely to cause all those masculinization effects, which also includes some stuff like balding and acne and stuff like that. Okay, so since this is a quick and brief overview, I just want to go over some of the key points of Proviron. And number one is that it's not 17A alkylated. And this pretty much means that it's not liver toxic or hepatotoxic, which that's the same thing. It's not liver toxic because 17A alkylation is usually what they do to steroid molecules to make it orally bioavailable. But this one is unique, and it doesn't need the 17A alkylation to be orally bioavailable. So you're going to experience a lot less liver toxicity, which is a huge upside. There's no aromatization of Proviron because it's a DHT derivative, and it's very minimally suppressive, which we'll get into later. And it has a super high binding affinity for SHBG. So usually steroids are going to have a high binding affinity for the androgen receptor, which is where obviously like testosterone binds, but this one has a high binding affinity for SHBG. And if you don't know what that is, I'm going to go over it. And then the last key point is it actually acts as a mild aromatase inhibitor. So it's been shown to kind of manage and lower estrogen. Now, this isn't strong as actual aromatase inhibitors like letrozole, anastrozole, arimistane. It's not going to be as strong as those, but it's still just kind of an added benefit as it can help control estrogen. So SHBG is something that I want to talk about because you might not know what it is, and it plays a huge role in Proviron. So SHBG is sex hormone binding globulin, and it's a transporter for sex hormones like testosterone. You usually see on a blood lab, whatever, you have your free testosterone number and your total testosterone number. So the total testosterone number refers to pretty much all the testosterone, and majority of that is actually bound by this SHBG, meaning it's not active in the body. And then free testosterone refers to the actual bioavailable testosterone that's kind of ready to bind to tissues. And so that free testosterone number is super important for like building muscle and getting all of testosterone's effects, because SHBG kind of renders it inactive. So what does this mean? Is if you take Proviron, since it has such a high binding affinity for SHBG, your SHBG will lower and your free testosterone will go up if you were to just take this standalone. And this is why a lot of bodybuilders use Proviron with or on cycles, because it increases the benefits that you'll get from that steroid, because some other steroids can bind to SHBG, which will also render them inactive, and Proviron will help with that because Proviron has such a high binding affinity. So now the big question is, does Proviron build muscle? And my answer is not directly. Referring back to the anabolic to androgenic ratio, we can see that it has a very low anabolic ratio, 35. So it's not as good as building muscle as testosterone. But you still get those benefits from that high binding affinity, because that's what you would use it for. It's going to free up testosterone, and more testosterone will be able to bind to your androgen receptors, because your SSBG is bound with Proviron. So you'll pretty much build any muscle that you'll get from it from that increase in free testosterone. That's my quick overview on Proviron. Let me know if there's anything else I should have commented on or anything I should have added. And thank you.